The Rane 72 is Rane's brand new flagship mixer, and it features a lot of elements from club mixers, but also scratch mixers as well. We've kind of putting the two in a hybrid, so there's things like the Mag 3 fader, which is Rane's brand new fader design, and also some quite unique pad modes. We have our multi-touch screen, and also we have the same audio circuitry in there as the much-loved MP 2015 mixer. The Rane 12 is our motorized controller for Serato DJ. It's an official Serato accessory, so it can be used with any official Serato hardware. On the back of the 72, we actually have a USB hub to connect up to two Rane 12s, and is a real turntable. Make no mistake about it.
Watch me. Watch me. Watch me, dog. Watch me.
One of the many unique features of the Rane 72 is the Mag 3 fader. So a bit of history, Rane were the original inventors of the magnetic fader. And with the Mag 3, we feature two super magnets. It's user adjustable on the screw here. It's contactless technology, but also, more importantly, we feature it not only on the crossfader, but the channel faders as well. So the 72 features a multi-touch screen. Now this interacts with Serato in many ways. So the first of which is we can browse our crates and playlists very easily just from the unit, but also we can interact with the waveform. Now, as of a most recent firmware update, we've enabled the 72 to perform pinching and zooming waveforms. But also, you can interact with the waveform by performing a needle search, just by running your finger by the side of the waveform.
Can you dig it?
So another unique thing about the 72 is our effects matrix. So we have a dedicated screen for effects on the touchscreen of the 72. Now the effects are independent per channel, but one of the great things about it is we can actually combine the software effects from Serato and also the hardware effects from the Rane 72 itself, which in our case are called flex effects. So one example would be if I had a low pass filter, a phaser and a delay set up in Serato, I could combine these with the echo, which is hardwired into the 72. And of course, these are enabled via the effects toggle switches. Now these are actually 180-degree user adjustable. You simply lift the top panel off, turn the paddles round, and your momentary latching will be in reverse order. Also, to accommodate our effects, we have an XY touch effects axis. Now, with no effects enabled at the box, this is a combined high and low pass filter. As I mentioned previously, with the effects matrix in combining hardware and software effects, these can be triggered from the XY pad as well. Another unique thing about the 72 are the pad modes. Now the pad modes are actually independent per channel. So this means I could have my roll feature on the left deck combined with my slicer or Serato sampler on the right deck, but also features three very unique pad modes as well. Okay, so we have four pad modes on pad effects. We have a break, a spin back, a gate, and an echo out. So with the break, this emulates a wind down. With the spin back, this emulates the spin back action of a platter. A gate has four different timings of gate effect, and the echo out emulates a post-fader delay. Now these can actually be combined with the echo out. For example, I could have an echoed out spin back or an echoed out break or gate. So Phaedra Effects is a very interesting one. What we have is very similar to the gate effect I mentioned before, but this time the gates are stylized in transformer and crab patterns, so movements of the crossfader essentially. And again, these have different variants and different sizes going up the pads. And once we come to our last 3 pads, these will be combinations of the 3 previous or 4 previous before. Transport mode is actually a great fail-safe. With transport mode, each pad will represent, quite literally, the transport in Serato. So we'll have our cue, our play, pitch bend, movement of the pitch fader within Serato, but also enabling of sync and the pitch and time as well. So a good example of this would be if I were to be using these with, let's say, traditional turntables in DVS mode, and I had some kind of hardware failure, the transport mode will allow me to continue the set uninterrupted. So there are many ways to customize the 72, and a really great way is by using the cut and adjust. And this also demonstrates the ability of the touchscreen. So if we were to choose cut and adjust from the main menu, we are presented with the graphic of each of the 3 fader assemblies. So if I were to tap the crossfader, I can move the fader physically and we'll see it reflected on the screen. I can choose a cutting position of, let's say, 1 and get a really tight crossfader cut. So with each firmware revision of the 72, we've added a ton of user requests, but also some of our own ideas as well. One great one is the pad GUI mode. This means if I press any of the pad modes, I'll be presented with a graphic on the lower half of the screen, which tells me what each of the pads do in each different pad mode. So one of the user requested features for our most recent firmware updates was the ability to perform roll point adjustments within the main menu. So if I don't want a full cut filter out of the box, I can simply edit my low and high points per frequency, and it will respond as such and be saved in your settings. So true to form with previous Rane mixers, Rane also ships with the user app, which means we can adjust settings from the Rane app and then send them via USB into the mixer, such as cut and adjustments and phonosensitivity of the mixer. So the Rane 12 was designed in partnership with the turntablist and DMC community, but of course it has many far-reaching uses beyond just that genre. So it is a real turntable motor and a real turntable platter. The motor itself has 2 torque settings. We have our low torque, which is more of our Technic sort of feel, and our high torque, which is our 5 kilogram instant startup motor. Now I mentioned it's a real turntable motor and a real platter. The platter itself is capable of 3,600 points of resolution that are being read per revolution. Now in simple terms, what that means is this is actually more accurate than a DVS setup. So even in the absence of a needle, the Rane 12 can still perform old school turntable tricks, such as wind down. So as I mentioned in the intro, the Rane 12 is an official Serato accessory. Now the Serato integration is handled on the left-hand side of the 12. You'll see we have a multi-function touch strip. Now this is capable of launching up to 8 cue points in Serato, but also I can delete those cue points if I hold down the cue button. If I press cue again, I can now perform a needle search and it's reflected on the 72 screen as well. So anyone coming to the 12 from a traditional turntable setup will feel right at home. It is a 100mm pitch fader, dual resolution with center indent. We also have a pitch range capable of up to +50. So obviously with the absence of a tone arm, what we're actually doing is giving a lot more back to the DJ. So the most obvious examples of this would be the absence of, breaking needles or bumping needles. One example that spans a lot of genres is the problem that's always had of using analog turntables or DPS setups on large stages. There's always the trouble of bass feedback if those sub-frequencies are pushed on stage. Obviously, if we eliminate the tone arm, we eliminate the bass feedback. So the Rane 12 is customizable. You can actually replace the vinyl we ship with your own 12-inch vinyl. It's a very simple process. We just remove the adapter, attach our own piece of vinyl to it. Also, it's adaptable in terms of feel as well. And this is done simply with the Allen key. We can adjust the tension to either loose or more of a tight feel. So the Rane 12 is obviously configured in a battle style, but obviously it can be placed in a club style as well.